In today's video, I wanted to share with you guys a lot of my financial goals and a lot of things revolving around money as a small business owner. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wine and Design. Instead of drinking wine today, I got myself a little LaCroix. I'm obsessed with these. I don't know why I'm so late to the game, but they're delicious, so let's open one up. I have been really diving deep this year into making sure that I am putting enough aside for taxes, that I am paying myself properly, and also just saving money and investing money so I can grow my money and make sure that I'm putting it in the right places. So I've spent the past almost this entire year just making sure that I have a good system for everything. And with tax season ending recently, I did get on a discovery call with a CPA and she helped with so much good advice. So I wanted to share some of that with you guys. Her name is Jackie Easterday as well. I'll leave her information down below. Such a helpful call. I learned so much from her, and it really set me up for creating the accounts and the systems that are going to help me move forward. So with that said, I wanted to first start off with explaining to you guys the things that I do every single month. So, as a small business owner, I think it's really important to have one day out of the month, usually in the beginning, the first week of the month, having one CFO day for yourself. So, you're going to be your own chief financial officer probably for a long time. I personally don't even have any employees on my team. I have some contracted workers and people that I hire out, but I've no one on my team and I don't have a CPA on my team right now. I had a bookkeeper last year, but I found that there was some issues there and I felt like maybe it just wasn't working out between that partnership. So right now, I don't have anybody but myself. So I was like, I'm going to take matters in my own hand, learn how to understand where to put my money, how to reconcile my accounts, how to do all that, just so I know how to manage it all myself if anything does happen. So first things first, I do have QuickBooks. QuickBooks Online is really helpful for just making sure that I am seeing what was business expenses and what was personal expenses. But the number one thing that you should be doing if you started your business is making sure you have separate accounts for personal and business. So I have an LLC. I feel like I'm going to be sharing a lot in this video. So if you need a notebook or paper and pen, please grab it because I have learned a lot myself. I just want to share everything. So I do have an LLC, and with that LLC, I do have to separate my personal and business expenses. Not only is it so much easier to just do your tax season by seeing those separately, but also kind of keeps you accountable and sees like how much you're spending on your personal things versus like where you can kind of like let go of some of the business items you're paying for. So I do have two different accounts. I have a business checking account, I have a business credit card, and I also have my personal checking account, my personal credit card. So for a while last year, I was putting personal expenses on my credit card and it was mixed with business and it got really confusing. So I would say, first things first, make sure you have those separated so it saves you so much time during tax season. And so it's just really clear to you. Because if you do grow, it's going to be very important to know like what you're spending on your business and those types of things. So that's my number one tip. Okay, so let's talk about credit cards for a minute. I have not really ever been educated with credit cards. I remember when I was younger, my parents always told me that credit cards are just for emergencies, to not use them very much. And I'm very glad they told me that because credit cards to me were not something that was like free money. And I'm very happy about that because I've always viewed credit cards as just, something there in case I really need it. But I do, now that I've kind of educated myself and read a bit about them, there's a lot of benefits to credit cards and especially checking like the points you can get, the travel points, the cash back and things like that. So I'll share with you guys what I'm doing because it has been really helpful. And crazy thing is, I just posted those two travel vlogs. My entire ticket to Portugal was paid for because of my credit card travel points. So that's just a good example of how much money I was able to get back from just spending things for my business So it's like a win-win basically. So I do have Capital One Venture as my business credit card. Now for my personal credit card, which this part is a little bit newer to me because I didn't really want to set up a personal credit card. I was a little bit nervous that I would go overboard with it and not be as careful with my personal money, but I decided to set up a personal credit card just because I didn't want to have to stress about paying myself. And also I'm good about paying my credit card, so I wasn't super worried, but I like to have no risk involved in my life, so I definitely overthought it a little bit. But I do have a personal credit card set up within Apple. So I have an Apple credit card and I think it's amazing. I'm able to connect it with my wallet on my phone, so I have it wherever I go. I don't have to carry a debit card around anymore. And I just make sure to pay that personal credit card every month. And it makes it so easy to see if I splurged a little too much, if I spent a little too much on coffee and things like that. I'm able to double check that. So I do really like the Apple card for that. But another reason I like the Apple card is because this is a newer feature that they just released, but you can set up a savings account within the Apple credit card, which I do recommend. I'll get to that in a minute in terms of like what I'm saving, what I'm putting away and things like that. But they do have a savings account within the Apple credit card, which is really cool because it matches 4.17% APY. So basically you're getting 4% back every single year just for using that account. So it's pretty cool. I do like that feature, but another feature I really like about it is that you can actually connect your daily cash that you're getting back. So when you do have an Apple credit card, they're giving you Apple Cash or daily cash back with every single purchase. Can't remember the amount off the top of my head, but I do know that it adds up a lot. Like I use my personal credit card for like coffee, for gas, for food, for massages, nails, that kind of thing. And I usually get back 150 to 200 a month. I'm sure that's a month where I'm spending a little more than usual, but as you can see, it kind of adds up a lot. So instead of just having that cash sitting there for me to go spend on more things, I now have that Apple Cash going into my credit card and it's saving that cash for me. So it's like doubling my savings because I'm getting that cash back. So I know that's a lot of information, kind of confusing, but I really love that feature and I think that that's really going to help save a lot more this year. So I'm very excited about that. So that's a little bit about my credit cards right now. Like I said, I don't like to use them very much, but I do like the benefits that come with it. And having a good credit score is important for lots of investments in your life. So I think it's okay to not be afraid of it and to utilize it and understand how you can utilize it for your benefit. So now I want to jump into where I'm distributing my money because that is one of the most important things every month. I never really had a structure. Like all of last year, I did not have a structure. I would pay myself owner draws like 3 to 4 times a month, and I just never had a structure. So finally I have a structure I'm excited to share with you guys. So let's talk about my distribution plan. So if you see me looking over here, I have an Excel sheet open, which I will share little screenshots of how I'm organizing this. But I have an Excel sheet that just helps me understand my income, my expenses, my distribution, and my monthly business expenses versus my monthly personal expenses. So I have it all organized. Sorry, that's my fridge. So I have it all organized in this Excel sheet. It's very helpful to see it all right in front of me of what money is going where. So let's talk about the distribution part. So there's multiple areas in my business that I need to put money into. First one is taxes, and this was something I've heard, but the CPA that I spoke to, she really solidified it for me and said you should be putting aside around 20 to 30% of your income just for taxes. Now, 30% does sound like a lot. However, at the end of the year, with whatever taxes you owe, you potentially could have some left over, which is like a nice little bonus check to maybe go buy the new laptop, the new camera, the new phone, whatever it is you need in your business or in your personal life. So it's kind of nice to just save a little extra and get that reward at the end of the year. So I'm kind of starting slower and I'm saving 20% a month for taxes. And I put that 20% into my high yield savings account that I already had going. And that high yield savings account, I consider my emergency fund and my tax fund. So I just put it there. I like to put it in there because I use Synchrony Bank, but I like to put it there because it's hard to transfer money out of it. It takes a lot longer than other things. So I feel like I don't even think about it. I don't even touch it. It's just sitting there. And also I'm getting that interest back every year. So I have my high yield savings account for my emergency and my taxes. So every month around this time of the month, like the first week of the month, I will go into my accounts and transfer over that 20% into my high yield savings. Now for my personal savings, which is more for things like, this isn't really emergency fund stuff, but more like fun things. Like maybe I have a cool opportunity to go hang out with my friends and do a spa day, or maybe I have a cool opportunity to buy something for my phone, or something that doesn't totally involve my business, but is more of a personal investment or a personal savings. So I like to have a personal savings outside of my emergency and tax fund because that just kind of gives me a little buffer of having some fun money, having some money that I can use in my personal life. So for my savings account, I like to put away around $100 to $500. Doesn't sound like very much, but I don't really need to worry about that too much because I would rather put more of my money into investments. And that's the next one I was going to get into. But so savings, 100 to 500 is my typical amount that I put away for the investment part. And luckily, my boyfriend, he is very good at investing. He has done so much research on it and he's grown his accounts tremendously. So I trust him a lot and he tells me what to invest in every month. But I do have a Coinbase account where I invest in Bitcoin, invest in a lot of different cryptocurrencies. So I have that going. And then I also did recently set up a TD Ameritrade account where he tells me what to invest in there. So I'm not very experienced with the investment part, but I did want to share that I am putting away around 100 to 500 in the investment column as well. So I know 100 to 500 is a big range, but I do like to have that range because I don't want to be investing or saving if I have debt on my credit cards. So if I went traveling or if I spent more than I wanted to, I'd rather go pay that debt off than go and save it. So that's kind of why I have that big range of numbers depending on what happened during what month. So those are taxes, savings, investments. Now we have my business expenses and my personal expenses. So I definitely will show you guys a screenshot because it helped me so much to see it visually like this. But for my business expenses, so this, I always try and check in on it because let's actually count. I have a lot of different things I pay for in my business. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 12 different accounts that I have to pay for every single month. These are things like my work email, which is like $10 a month, but I track everything. I want to know, even if it's $2 a month, I want to know what I'm paying for. I have my Shopify, I have my Flowdesk email system, I have QuickBooks, PayPal, I pay my contractor there for like development. I have Epidemic Sounds, which is the music I use for YouTube. I have a lot of things in there, so I wanted to make sure I track it all. But the amazing thing is it doesn't add up to very much for the monthly payments. So it's around like $900 to $1,000 per month just to run my business. That's right now, and I feel like that's actually pretty good because I'm only putting away maybe 10 to 15% of my income for the month into the expenses. So that's honestly really good, and I think that's one of the beautiful parts about running a business in the digital world because you don't have a lot of overhead. You can work off your computer and you really don't have to pay for that much. There's ways around it to save a lot more in these areas. So on the CFO days of that first week of the month, I like to check my business expenses and see if there's any of them that I can cancel, if there's any that I can downgrade. And at the beginning of this year, I actually switched from monthly to yearly for a lot of my accounts because I realized I'd be saving so much if I just paid for it up front. So I did do that recently. And then I also reached out to a lot of my accounts. I reached out to my internet company. I reached out to, who else did I reach out to? I reached out to Adobe. I reached out to a lot of my accounts and asked them if they have any sort of sales or if they could lower my amount because sorry about that, guys. My memory card filled up, so I had to go replace that. But I left off at the business expense part, and now I wanted to jump into the personal expenses. These are things that I like to separate from my business, such as gas, food, Leo's pet insurance, my Apple applications. Like I have an app on my phone that helps me generate workouts, and that's definitely not anything to do with my business. So I put that under my personal expenses. Coffee, which I like to give myself 3 coffees per week, which I feel like adds up to $70 a month. I do have an espresso machine, but I'm sure, as you guys know, there's just something special about going to a coffee shop. So I do want to make sure I am calculating that on the higher side just in case if I go 3 times a week. So I have coffee, I have nails, massage, and I do pay for part of our mortgage as well. So personal expenses, if I decided to be really good one month and not do nails and massages, it would be around $250 a month, which honestly isn't very bad. Which is, I know I'm very lucky because I'm not paying for very much of my mortgage. I know rent and all that would drastically change my money distribution and everything on this. So very, very thankful that we invested in this home and that we lowered the rent we pay per month and that we have a good friend living with us, and all of that helps so much. So I'm very, very thankful for that. So I don't really have that much. If I do decide to go treat myself, have some fun during the month, total with treats. Wait, that doesn't look right. I call them treats. My like massages and nails and all that. So let's actually calculate that. Now, if I really want to treat myself one month, yeah, so it's around $870. That's a big difference, $250 versus $870. For some reason, the math does not add up, but I mean, I did the equation right. So that's kind of eye-opening, and that's why I like to do things like this, because it's making me realize that treating myself to certain things definitely can add up. So that does not look right. That makes more sense. So if I didn't decide to treat myself with nails or massages, it'd be around $740 a month. If I did decide to treat myself, it's around $870, so another $100. So kind of interesting to look at that and eye-opening to see like where my money's going. So total personal and business expenses, I'm gonna yield on the higher side. It's around $2,000, and that's not including a high rent or anything like that. So I wanted to make this video also to just share like how much is really necessary to run a business. I do feel like I have some things in here that I could probably get rid of. I don't need to get a massage every month. I like to treat myself, so I like to do those kind of things, but just making sure I'm tracking it all and double checking that everything I'm able to do it. So that's kind of how my personal and business expenses look and how they're separated. Now, under my distribution, I have those personal and business expenses listed out. And then I also have a $200 that I pay myself per month. That doesn't seem like very much, but we have all these other savings accounts and things like that. I pay myself around $200 a month to go do whatever I want with that. If I want to go grab lunch with someone or eat dinner out or whatever, I have that $200 buffer outside of all those savings and distribution areas. So I take all of those numbers. I take the taxes, the savings, the investments, the expenses, and the fun money, and I subtract it by the total amount of income per month, which I have left over in my account. So I have that left over in my business checking account at all times. I like to just have that there so that account is not empty. And so I have some money in there, and I will decide what to do with that later on. But I do like to have some money in there at all times. So that's how my expenses look. I really wanted to share this with you guys because, like I said, I think it's nice to know how much you need to run a business. A lot of the things I have on there, I do have a social media person that helps me create some of my Instagram content, which is something I recently added on because I did see that I have the ability to possibly pay them. So I'm trying that out for 3 months, but I could decide to remove that and that would lower my business expenses. So it's kind of eye-opening to see once you have it written out. And like I said, I'll definitely show you guys screenshots of how I organize it. If you want a copy of this, let me know in the comments and I can definitely make a template out of it. But I recently created this and it's been so helpful. So it's really important to keep in mind that the beginning of the month is when you should really take one day to just make sure everything's organized and that you've distributed your money everywhere. Because this past year, like I said, I didn't have much of a structure. And when tax season came around, luckily I had money in my account that just had been piling up from client work and courses and things like that. Money that I didn't touch. So I'm very proud of myself for not touching it because I did need to take a big chunk of that money and pay taxes. Luckily, my taxes were not crazy. They were a lot more than I was expecting. So now I'm like, I really need to have a good structure and make sure I know I have money aside for taxes and I won't have to tap into any of my other accounts. So I'm excited. I'm excited this year to see how this all kind of plays out and how much better I feel when tax season comes around. One of the things I did not get into though is my goals. My goals for this year. I'm very open with you guys about my income, what I make. I don't know why money's such a taboo topic. It's like we need it. We need it to survive in our world. So I don't really like to give exact details of it because it is taboo and it is personal, but I do like to share with you guys at least as much as I'm comfortable with. So I do have some goals for this year. And I might as well just share them with you guys. So 2023 goals, I have 4 main accounts for where my money is saved and what I consider my income, my like total amount of income saved and put away. So I have my Synchrony Bank, which is my high yield savings account, which I mentioned to you guys is my tax and emergency fund account. And I would like to ideally get that to 25,000, 20 to 25,000. I know that sounds like a lot, but I've already been building that up just for emergency funds because we a couple years ago had an emergency with Leo and it was super scary. It cost us a lot of money. It was like $3,000 to have him get, wasn't surgery. It kind of was surgery. He had urinary issues and it was expensive. It was very expensive, which is why we have pet insurance now. But that was $3,000. And at the time, I didn't really have a great emergency fund. So I made sure that was a priority this last year to put money away for that, just in case my little baby needs anything else. So I have my emergency fund and tax account. I'd like to increase that more this year. Then I also have what I mentioned to you guys, that Apple Card savings account. This is really new to me, so there's like nothing in there right now. But I'd like to get that to even just 1,000 would be awesome. Just to have some personal savings that I can use to treat myself at the end of the year. And then I have my investment account for crypto in my Coinbase, and hopefully my boyfriend is saying that we might be able to cash some of it out end of this year, like beginning of next year. All depends, how all that kind of investment stuff works. But hopefully, if it all works out, hopefully I can cash out around 5K. So that's kind of my goal there. And then I have a 401k account from all of my previous jobs, and that is growing as well. So I am hoping that by the end of this year, I can look at my income and see. I'm going to give you guys a range of numbers. Hoping I can see 25 to 35K, which I feel like is really good for me, my lifestyle, the things I need to live off of. I could technically take a whole year off with that amount of money. So I would like to see that as my income. And then, of course, we have other investments like our home and things like that, which I don't really count that into my income, but yeah, kind of nice. So that is just savings income. I'll probably make more this year. We never know. That's kind of the interesting thing is, as being an entrepreneur and a graphic designer, every season is so different. Every year is so different. A big opportunity could come up and change everything. So these are just tentative goals, but it's kind of nice to have them written out and see something in front of you to reference. So anyway, I feel like that was a lot. Let me know if you guys have questions. I definitely just shared a lot of information, but I think it's so helpful. And I look back when I started my business, and even when I was doing it on the side, I didn't really have a structure. And I think it's nice to have some sort of structure and to see how other people are doing it. So I really hope this was helpful to you. Let me know if it was by commenting down below. Let me know if you want me to make this a template. I definitely can try and do that. But I'm excited to show you guys. I got a lot of requests recently to do a full branding process, a full like start to finish. So I have that coming very soon. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. And please subscribe if you'd like to see more. That would help me so much. But I will see you guys in my next video.